Good morning and welcome. Welcome to live stream Fight CPS with your host, Bob Pace. Um, it's a warm welcome and it's a challenge for a lot of you right now with a particular agency, a government agency that I call the Child Protection System. CPS stands for me. The Child Protection System is found in every county in every state and found worldwide. This is an international live stream. We broadcast everywhere that anybody has the internet. And I have 22 countries and over 50 states that have called in, including the District of Columbia. That's over 1,500 people. I've been doing this since October of 2018. And as I say, it's a challenge to do this twice a day, but I'm here to help you all. That's what I really care about. And I don't know if anybody else does this twice a day live streaming, especially on a matter that to a lot of people, there's different opinions. A lot of people are negative about families, and if they're involved in CPS, they say they deserve to be. There's the other side of the coin, which there are rogue agencies. They're supposed to protect our children from neglect and abuse, but they're also supposed to do family reunification, and that doesn't seem to be happening a lot lately. Now, I'm not saying all CPS is bad. There has been one social worker in the last 18 months that's gone on. Her name was Carol. She was from Maryland, and she had a degree in clinical psychology and 6 months of training in Maryland. And she said that her CPS department was run fairness and the families was a very concern. And I think it should be. I think it should be. Now, as people start to come into my room, I have a lot of people that have made this room their family, and a lot of them need the support. A lot of them are really bad off. I mean, I have Leica from South Africa who's called in, country code 27. Um, in the U.S., I've had Betty Joe, a foster care mother, Margaret King, um, Felicia, uh, Crystal Salazar, and many others. I have had live um, a family that has 5 or 6 names that was calling in twice a day, but I guess they've taken a timeout. I've had people like Travis. I've had KK Richardson that does a similar live stream that I do on Mondays. I've even had Deidre Payne who does another live stream on Wednesdays. All of you come in here and tell me about your case, and I try to help you all. I try to help you all. Now, last night was really hard because um, normally I do a live stream at 7, but I told everybody I was going to do it at 8. Well, I didn't know that my attorney, Vincent, who I work for, he didn't do his 6:30 live stream, so he did it at nighttime, and I guess he started at 8:30, so I waited an hour and did my live stream at 9:30 Pacific Standard Time, which 10:30, 11:30. That's 12:30 on the East Coast. In other parts of the world, is different times. But I'm here to help you all. All you have to do is text me a comment, a message, a question about your CPS matter, and I'll gladly help you. I'll help you answer it to the best of my ability. I'm not a attorney. I'm a loving husband with 42 years of marriage experience and a father of 6 children that I've helped raise. And 3 of my older children have wonderful families and are really doing good in life. The other 3 were the ones the victim of CPS, along with me and my wife. It was a horrible, horrible experience we went through. I've been fighting for 15 years First 5 years of 2010, there was the reports that we were doing something awful to our children. It's done by a layperson, and we did not know until much after our case was over. That was my wife's mother and father, three sisters, and a brother. They were calling from Ohio to California and reporting that we were doing terrible things to our children. They were interested in getting our children. They've been very supportive since my wife I met a long time ago. So it's sad to say that, I had a lot of events in my life that were going bad for me. In 2010, unfortunately, I lost my job through no fault of my own. I left a steady job for a new job, and I'm glad I did. It was higher pay and more ability and so forth, and it afforded me to buy my home. I mean, I bought a home that I've been working on for 45 years. Beautiful home. My life was great until I lost that job at the age of 60 after working for 45 years. I've been starting to work since age 15 is when I started work. And unfortunately, when you lose your job, just like a lot of you maybe have low income, it's hard to, really pay for an attorney or get help because this CPS matter that you're in requires my number one rule that you get an attorney. But the kind of attorney you're going to get is going to cost you a lot of money. A lot of money to me, maybe to some people like Elon Musk, it's not a drop. It's hard to believe that his company has suffered a three-quarter loss with his involvement in Doge. So maybe he's now stepping out of the side of Doge and going back to Tesla. But Tesla is really, really tough. I know he has SpaceX, and he probably has other business ventures too. He has that communication system that Ukraine uses or did use or whatever it is. The world's a tough place out there. Now, I mentioned 22 countries. I've heard from Indonesia, Bangladesh, India, then in the Middle East from Libya, who've gone through a really lot. Saudi Arabia, which is a very wealthy country, and I'm really surprised that they would have child problems, but they called in, they texted in. Then Africa, I've had Liberia and the Sudan. Now, Liberia is on the west coast, northern Africa. Sudan is on the east. It's not a coast, but it's near the Red Sea, Sudan. And the latest country is Republic of Congo, which I still have not really studied whereabouts. And then Rwanda, which is near Lake Victoria on Central East Africa. Then Mozambique, which is down south on the east coast, across from Madagascar. And then we got South Africa and the provinces of two provinces there. And beautiful people that I've spoken to. Then up to Europe, we've had England, Scotland, Wales, Denmark, and Sweden. And I had one mother that called in from England in tears. She was in her garage, country code 44, about how bad the cases are going. And so, hold on a second here. Forgot to notify my office that I'm doing this thing here. Okay. We have a couple of people in the room. I still don't see any text messages, so I don't know if the people in the room are people I know, but welcome. welcome very much for being in my live stream. As I was mentioned by other countries, we go across the pond to North America to four provinces in Canada, and then the United States. All 50 states have heard from people, some two or three people from the same state. And of course, the District of Columbia. So I heard about everybody from the U.S., except I haven't heard from any territories. Then south of the border, Mexico, and then down in South America, I got to hear from Grenada, who's on the east coast of South America, north of Brazil. Then we go across the South Pacific, and I've had New Zealand. It was a Maori woman that had called. The All Blacks. It's the indigenous tribes. In fact, I've had a lot of the indigenous tribes. In Canada, they're called the First Nation people, the indigenous tribes. In the United States, we call the Native American Indians. And it's interesting because the word India came from Christopher Columbus. He called the people there he discovered in the Caribbean. He thought he was in India, but he wasn't. And he did discover America. He never set foot on North America. But for a long time, he was supposedly given the credit of, but history does correct itself, does changes and everything. But one thing you need to know is the first immigrants to North America were the Native American Indians who came across Alaska, that footbridge from Asia. And they settled and they went further south, and the Spaniards were exploring South Mexico and South America, and the Indians and the Spaniards somehow had children, and then we have the Mexicans. But anyways, I'm not here to give it a lot about history. I'm just trying to make it interesting. Because people have really gone a long way. Now, we're here talking about families. Families are most important. In fact, they say that the biological parents of the mother and the father are the best parents to raise children. So, with practical purposes, all efforts should be made in CPS to correct parent behaviors or hiccups they may have encountered raising their children. Not all parents are bad. And yes, there are reports of incidents of child abuse and neglect. It goes on every time. There's over 500,000 children being investigated this past year, and about 1,000 every day go unreported. That's a lot of people that are being hurt or abused. The trade, the slave trade, the sex trade is really rampant. And I live in one of the top areas for trafficking. Trafficking of not only the children, but trafficking of young adults and older adults. They're taken over in container ships, and next minute they're in China in slave camps. So, yeah, the world is really corrupt out there. It really is. It's myriad of corruptness everywhere. And right now, we're going through a lot of growing pains. We have a new radical president who has some radical ideas and wants to make something, wants to make some things changed. And he's pretty much doing what he campaign promised. He's trying to cut out the waste so we don't have debt in the United States. He's cutting out the government waste where people that sat at home and did nothing but were collecting a paycheck, or people that, where jobs are doing nothing and sit there at the desk and twiddle their thumbs. But we have a department called Doge, and that is probably the last where the bucket stops if you want to get help. Um, it's really, really, really hard. But anyway, going back to that lady, the Maori woman, she had a bad case there. The Maoris do have a lot of alcohol problems and stuff. It seemed like a lot of the Native American Indians too. So anyway, then my last country was Australia, and I've had from two states from Australia. So it's a well verse of lots of people there. And thank you for the thumbs up here. We have someone named Gol Ta Lahadina. Okay, you may be from another country. I don't know. Gol there. But anyway, I'm hoping to get some people in my room today. This is kind of like the second show that, well, last night was terrible because it was so late at night that I didn't have anybody. It was really late. It was really late. And I was struggling too. But I missed my regulars in this room, and they may have taken a time out or dealing with their legal matters.